Films.
All right, so let me tell you what House LLC from 2015, the first one, is about. I did watch like all of them, so I kind of give a little crash course.
Overachiever. No, I'm kidding.
Crash course on just masochist is what it is. So Hellmouths is about 5 years after an unexplained malfunction causes the death of 15 tour-goers and staff on the opening night of a Halloween haunted house tour. A documentary crew travels back to the scene of the tragedy to find out what really happened. It's directed by Stephen Cognetti, and they do, I'm pretty sure, all of them. So the first one is like, there's this documentary team that's like, something happened. It starts with, like live footage of people really excited to go into this haunt, and they're going through the pieces, and then something goes awry, something we don't know about. We see things that probably shouldn't see, like people who are clearly working there running around trying to go somewhere, and then all of a sudden when people get to the basement attraction, that's when they're screaming and there's like, what's going on, chaos, everyone's trying to leave, bunch of people die. And it's all like unexplained. And to me, I'm just like, why didn't anyone just go back in there? Like, the authorities can't go into this building. Like, I don't know. They just boarded up. Like, they didn't even like investigate. Like, if my kid vanished or a person I loved vanished in this house, I'd be like, no, we're gonna go in this house, figure it out. Right now. So there's a documentary crew, and they are trying to get down to the bottom of what happened at this at Hell House, which is a franchise. So Hell House was previously an attraction in New York. Something happened where now they can't be in New York anymore, and they are now in Pennsylvania, in Abbadon, Pennsylvania. And if you're wondering, Hell House is a real haunted attraction in Pennsylvania that we did not go to, but you can. Just who's got time for that? But it's stationed in the Abbadon Hotel, which rumor has it was established because the owner liked the name of the town, because Abbadon is a demon that opens a gate to hell or something. Sure.
Did you look it up? Is it real? Is that like a real thing?
I mean, Abbadon definitely is. I'm pretty sure a demon, but there's no Abbadon, Pennsylvania, I don't think.
Okay.
Like, there's a real house. It's not in Abbadon. Like, who names a town? It's like,
I was like, that sounds like really not like Pennsylvania to have a town named after a demon. Like, I feel like there's a lot of religious people who would be like, not in my state.
We have Bethlehem. Like, you can't. We have Bethlehem. Like, we have like a bunch of ones where I'm like, what? Very like, welcome to Beelzebub, Illinois. Like, that's not. No one's doing that.
Now I want to know what states or cities like within
have demon
the country have demon names.
Yeah.
If you know, listeners, send us a list.
Please let us know.
I'm not going to go there or do anything with the list. I just want to know.
Yeah.
Just want to know.
Absolutely. So the hotel owner is dealing with some spooky stuff, and that's why it is closed. They had unalived themselves, and some people went missing in the hotel. It's pretty vague. And so then, this Hell House troupe took up shop in this abandoned place for who knows why. And then events occurred, and now there's a documentary team going to investigate. And during their investigation, they interact with this one survivor who informs them that there's tapes, because they recorded their entire experience, and it becomes this it's always been this found footage thing, but now we're watching the tapes. And so the tapes reveal what happened, and essentially, they're making the house spooky. And then there's things that are happening that they didn't make spooky, but are spooky happenings, right? There's a particular clown that isn't supposed to move its head, but seems to find itself around the house all the time.
Happens to be like the scariest looking clown of the clown trio that exists.
Yeah, he is terrifying. Yeah, and just like standing there. Like, I will say the best part of Hell House is like those little tension building spookiness, like just having something out of the corner of your eye. Like I love those for found footage. Or like like the little things that were happening was really
Yeah.
cool. Or like there's times when the house gets like really weird and it like goes back in time. So like they're in the
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. I
in the
remember that now.
kitchen, and all of a sudden it looks like a regular real kitchen like before it was abandoned. And
Yeah.
it's like, everyone's like freaking out. Those things are really great. And I was like, I would love it if it really were just like haunted. And
Yeah.
it was just like spooky for spooky's sake. But they're like, no, we need to give it a reason. And so they tied in like all this cult stuff that just gets even wackier. And I was like, what are we doing? Like, because to me, it was like the deep house, how we really
Yeah.
liked the beginning. And then when it started mixing in like this spooky, it was
Yeah.
like,
The
this is
cult
dumb.
situation.
Why you
Yeah.
bring in a cult or like satanic cults and stuff? Like that's not real, first of all, and that's not fun. No, it's just like it's lazy. I just
Yeah.
immediately write it off as lazy. Like, it's not anything interesting.
Yeah, it was like really fun until that. I would with that like they could have just ended it right before that and it would have just been a 10 out of 10 movie.
Or like really, blended in. I will say the way that like starting with like something went wrong during this attraction, showing us the behind the scenes footage,
Yeah.
really like set them up to essentially fail. Because it's like, how are you going to deliver? Like, how are you going to show us what like is going to really make it worth our time? And that's really hard to do. And they, I would say, did not do a great job at the end there.
Yeah.
I enjoyed like getting to see like, oh, that's when the one person walked by because they're going to investigate this thing, and that's what those people saw, right? Or it's like, oh, we
Yeah.
saw the clown leaving, and everyone's like, what? That's weird. Why would
Yeah.
one of the clowns leave? But once they start like trying to explain things, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's not how you do things. So as soon as you bring in spooky stuff, like or occult things, I'm like, okay, this is dumb. And the rest of the series is like really hard into the spooky, like into the satanic cult stuff that I think is hilarious. Like someone was like,
Yeah.
the best part of our film was the very flimsy explanation of our villain.
Yeah.
So, you
Interesting.
know what we need more of? This guy, because that's what we care about. And so the second one is like, the house is now definitely condemned, right? Like people cannot go in there. And now they have like
Yeah.
police patrols. So this new investigative team collaborates with the one sole survivor from the last documentary team to go back into the house to find out what happened to the last documentary team slash the Hell House crew.
Yeah, and then like
So
they saw that video, so like why do they want to go back in there? It seems very sus.
yes, yes. And then I mean what was interesting was they did show like videos of people doing like dares, like teams
Yeah.
like live streaming and being like, all right, guys, I'm gonna
Classic.
go in for 10 minutes. And then like the one I thought was pretty cool is like one guy goes in and he sees a pair of legs, like this person standing on the stairs, but like you can't see their head.
Yeah.
And he's just like stops. And then he doesn't talk anymore. And it's like, yeah, this video goes on for like 12 hours until the camera dies. And that's it. It's just this like stare off. And then like, his followers were like calling the police a bunch and being like, go investigate this house. And the kid was gone. And I was like, that's cool.
Oh
Like
no, not
less
the
is more.
kid. Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
And they're like, let's go in. I will say in the second film, the acting is horrendous. It is really painful.
yeah.
Um,
Well, they
there-
killed all the good actors in the first movie.
yeah. There's like one actor in particular that's very bad. And she doesn't get a lot of airtime, which was really good. But everyone was kind of like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here? But it really, really leans into the satanic cult thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, sure. It had a few things that I thought were pretty fun. There's a few techniques. There's like an instance where like things are all chaotic and like
Yeah.
people are running around and they're experiencing things abnormally, right? So like halls are changing kind of thing. And so one of the characters is like frantic and running and has a camera and he encounters this girl who's sitting down and we would know her from the previous film. She's on the phone. She's like, I know, mom. I told you that we're already dead, and her like voice changes and it's like, and they're gonna die too, and it's like scary, and I was like, that was pretty rad.
Yeah, I know, once we get through opening night, it'll all be downhill from there. No, Mom, I already told you I'm dead already. They took us to hell.
And Mitchell's coming with us.
Yeah.
But then it's like they run upstairs and they see the room, and there's like they see the hotel room that says 2C, which is linked back to the first one.
Yeah.
And one of the characters is like, we can't go in there. And then the guy who survived the last documentary crew is like, why not? He's like, because I saw your film. That's why we cannot go in there. Like,
that's the first.
Why are we?
That is a plot hole in and of itself.
Like, you saw the first film. Why are you here? They do the same thing where there's like a twist ending at the first one that they replicate in the second one.
Cool.
And I was like, okay. I was like, are you guys gonna do that really? Okay, cool. Which is like fine. So here's the big thing about the second one, which I think is really crazy. So Kat, in the second one, like we get more from the hotel owner who like wanted to settle in Abbadon. And we get this behind the scenes footage of, there was a security camera of the guy who was running Hell House in the house before Hell House showed up here. So he's just talking to this guy. Somehow he's connected to this man that we don't see. He's off camera. And he's explaining his financial issues. And the guy's like, well, why don't you just set up shop in this hotel? And he's like, sure. And I'm like, why are you here? How do you know him?
Yeah.
Like, and it's literally like the answer is like magics, sinister magics. He brings people here. He just wants people here. He wants things to be recorded. It's very loose. And so that happens. And then in the end, we see like the owner, it's revealed to be someone that we saw the whole time. And he's like, I need you people as sacrifices, because Hell House, this hotel is on like a Hellmouth, and so in the basement, poorly like CGI'd like Hellmouth opens up, and it's just like a portal to hell, right? And I was like, okay, cool, but then what? Because there's a third one, so I was like, how many people in here?
Did they go to hell in the third one?
No. So in the third one, there is a new creator that has bought the hotel. It's this like self-made millionaire guy who's making
classic
this art installation
guy thing to do. Yep.
He's making this art installation in Hell House, and it's supposed to be like, this whole experience. And the whole time there's like another news crew who's taken over for the last news crew, and they're like, has anyone seen the videos? And half of the actors have not. And other ones are like, well, at least we don't have to sleep here, like those kinds of things. And so it does kind of the same thing where you see sprinkles, but let me tell you, the ending of this film, the third one, is so bonkers. Like, I was like, you did not just do like so the guy, so he's also has financial problems, because that's how you get here, right?
Everyone is guy who's rich has financial problems on it.
Yes.
Wow.
And so we had right. So he's here, he's involved, but he also, there's this like a car accident that happens, and they reveal, as if this is a big deal, that he had been technically dead for like 2 minutes or whatever. And that means something. Anyway, he has this scar along his face that is done with like putty, like the special effects putty, and there are literal times where like the lighting in the room is so bad that you could just see it's like an entire different color. Like, it looks like they put like clay on him, and so like hilarious. And then so he's like, it's really choppy. It's not like, it has a mix of people like going places where they shouldn't go, mixes of like things popping up in the background. My favorite thing is that there's these fully white mannequins in these white rooms, and I was like, I need one of these mannequins to start moving. I was like, I need this mannequin. And sometimes it does that. Like, there's one in it, like, like, does the head turn, and you're like, stop. I was like, that's great. That's the best part of this whole like film, was like literally just those mannequins in that hallway. Anyway, he so the whole time I'm like, why is this happening when a Hellmouth opened up last time? What happened to the
Yeah.
Hellmouth? Like, what was the purpose of the Hellmouth? We don't get an answer, right?
It was that
Instead,
they didn't think they get to make another film, but they do.
yeah, it's
So
so like we have to answer it. So so they're gonna have like opening night, and the detective team here discovers that there's financial woes and that there's something going on. Like there's these motivations and that it seems dangerous and people are caught up in things they shouldn't be caught up on. She's like talking to priests and stuff. So she tries to get it to stop. So she
Yeah.
like releases the story that he doesn't have any money. People still go through with it, right? The actors are like, whatever, we're here. And so they have opening night, which I had a problem with because they let in like 4 people, but they're acting like these actors are performing this play throughout the house. So if like things didn't go bad, how many times were they going to have to do this entire play through the whole
Yeah.
house?
4 people's not
4
enough
at a
people.
time. Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
all people outside. I was like, that's insane. Like if you have like
Yeah.
different actors in different rooms, sure, but it's the same. Like no, I was like, this is impractical from a production team standpoint, first of all. But here's the thing that really set me over the edge. So our main guy, who's got all the money, he meets them for like their last dinner or their last supper before opening night.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm using my words specifically for their
Oh
last
god.
supper. And he sits amongst them and he gets there pretty late and he asks the server, I would like a hamburger or something. And he's like, the kitchen closed at 10. He's like, you know what, just give me some dinner rolls. And he's like, sure. And he's like, also, I'd like this. And he names like a really fancy wine. And the guy's like, we don't have that. And he's like, fine, I'll take the house red. So then he is given bread and wine.
Yeah.
And then people are eating the bread and tasting the wine. I was like, he did not just eat of my body and drink of my blood then. He did not just do that. We did not just so in your face do that. But yes, right? So
He's Jesus.
that happens in the most unsubtle way.
Mhm.
And then she like confronts him and he tries to convince like our documentary girl not to go in and not to attend opening night. But she's like, nah, I'm going to do that. They go to opening night. It's going well. It's going well so far.
Yeah.
Things are going
No
weird with
murder?
the lighting, of course. But people are going through. There's performances. And so then like chaos happens. Like the
As
guy,
would, yeah.
the the Abbadon hotel owner shows up and starts murdering. And then all his cult people show up from the hellhole and start murdering everyone in this like crazy way. It's just like, just go, just leave. And I was like, this place is a fire hazard because there's no like easy escape, like everything. It's just a maze. It's a labyrinth. And I was like, this is a fire hazard. Like this is not OSHA certified. I don't think we're supposed to have any kind of performances here. And then all this stuff is happening. Everyone's dying. I was like, I swear to God, if they do the same thing that they did in the first 2 films with the spoiler ending, I'm going to be really mad because there's no way that all these people could be talking about the experience if they're all dead. And then our main guy does something.
Classic main guy.
He does something, question mark, question mark, question mark, that where everything like there's a fire and like you're like, oh my God, everyone died. This is so sad. And then we cut to like interviews where they're like, here we are with the survivors. And you're like, survivors? They died. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And it's because he like sacrificed himself because he died once. And now he, he did something. Question mark. And now it's reversed. And everyone's alive. And they didn't die.
So
not the original Hell House people, just the people in this movie.
So Jesus died for our sins.
He did. He died for our sins and our Hell House sins, and now we're alive. And in the end, you see the crew from Hell House, and they like wake up as if nothing happened. And you're like
the original crew.
Mm-hmm. You're like, what's going on?
Well,
And
that's
they're
how you
like,
get the
"Oh."
good actors back. They're alive again.
So you're like, oh my God. They're like, oh my God, we're okay. Wow, this is great. And then they go to leave and they can't leave. And I was like, it's a pull door. They're like, you know, and then
I hate when I gotta push.
Christ shows up and he's like, you can't leave because we're all dead. And this is where we live now. And it's like, I was like, okay, but where's the other documentary crew? Like, they're not here. It's just the original crew.
They
It's like,
weren't. The second movie is forgotten.
they also, I totally missed out. They also like did these flashbacks where they showed the 2 other film crews like having dinner or something at a diner or at the bar, and he was there. He's like passing them as they walk out, or he's like in the cubicle
So
next to them. Hilarious. So for me,
Yeah.
so I was thinking, like, in the second one, what really got to me is it reminded me of my spiral when I was trying to explain the Paranormal Activity franchise and how absolutely angry I got because the second film ruined everything.
Yeah.
Because the first one, Katie's like, here's what happened, here's the lore. Enough. That's enough said. It was perfect. It was brilliant. It was tension building. It was wonderful. It left things to the imagination. And the second one was like, here's an explanation for things we didn't need explanations for, and they're wrong. Like, you made them not make sense now. You rewrote the history, which is like, why'd you do that? And then the rest of the series had to make up for the fact that you ruined everything.
Yeah.
So like we have to make sense of it, and we have to build.
And that's what the third movie was.
Yes. The second one was like, we leaned really hard into the worst part of this film, which was the satanic cult thing. And then we just kind of left it up, and then people still wanted it. So we had to make it up. And we put a whole very poor Christ allegory in the midst of it. It was like, wow, what a time. So I don't really have any analytical things to say about the Hell House series because it's not really that kind of film. I will say the first one was fun.
It's for funsies. Or I guess it's like an allegory for how sometimes if you go into a haunted attraction like thing with the goal of like exploiting people, that is not going to be a good time.
No.
Maybe.
I think there are also people were like, what?
Yeah.
Because like you're like, why didn't they leave? And they wrote that into the script in the first one. They were like, okay, something is revealed off camera that keeps them here. And it could be anything. For Kat, it was romance. It was unspoken romance was her guess. Mine was again.
Oh yes, things. When they were in the field and they were like,
I was like, it's because I love you.
We have to do it for him.
It's either that, or it's financial problems, or this guy's dying, right? Like those were the things. We were like, what is it, right? In the second one, they're like, it was financial things, but it was like, why?
Yeah.
Why anything?
Yeah, it was like such a weird loyalty. It was very much like you're watching Naruto and all you've seen is Sasuke be horrible to Naruto and everyone in the Leaf Village, and you're like, why do you all love him so hard?
Yeah, like
this is just abuse. Maybe everyone just needs some therapy.
Yeah, and I think this was like, I don't
also
know.
Like, didn't the first movie like sell well? Like, didn't it do well?
Hell House?
Yeah.
I think it's like a cult classic. Like I think it's one that people like in our sphere really like. There are diehard fans, which is why we got a second one, and then like the diehard fans are why we had a third one and now a fourth one, because that like, second one, I don't like.
Yeah.
Who watched that and was like, yeah.
I'm just like, why was it so bad? Like, if the first one did well, you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
What went wrong? But I guess as you said, like also like the way Paranormal Activity 2 kind of like inserted all this lore, it was trying to do that.
And you try to find like no-name actors so it feels more authentic,
more real, because it is found footage. Yeah,
I will say the third one, the acting was better than that. The second one was really rough.
I mean, that's not saying much because I watched the first 10 minutes and I felt so uncomfortable I needed to turn it off. because
I
they
felt
were really
uncomfortable.
bad.
And
They
I'm
were
not like
like,
that. But I felt like that every time the
yeah.
girls spoke words, I was like, honey, please.
I was like, you are all clearly very much reading lines from a script. And I
Yeah.
mean, I am not a professional actor, so do I have that much room to talk? Not really. But also, it hurt.
You're not trying to be an actor. Like, you're
Oh yeah,
not
I
in
do
this
not have
film,
aspirations of being an
Like,
actress. Yeah,
this
no,
is a
that's
person
true.
who's making money off of doing this. But yeah, like, and the second one is so weird. Like, the ghosts get really weird, or the cult people. They like call the one girl like honey a lot, and they like infantilize her
Well, I
in this
mean, that was
really
a theme
bizarre
throughout
way.
the first one. Like a lot of the writing for the first one was
It was
very
super
cringy in
cringy.
terms of like, this is what men think men are.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Yeah.
admire them, treat women like they aren't people and instead are objects. Let's actively seek out moments to
Yeah, to be
objectify
gross.
them and be very cringy and gross.
Which I
Um,
mean, people who are gonna make this weird hole in the wall haunted attraction, I don't put it past them being like that. Like,
yeah.
just the way that they behaved felt pretty authentic to me.
It felt very much
Um,
like frat boys made a haunted house.
yeah.
That was the vibe. It seemed like frat boy make haunted house now. And everyone's just
Uh-huh.
gonna be cool with that, I guess.
And that's why they would stay, because frat
Yeah.
boy make haunted house don't believe in haunted.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if, people who really
Frat boy in a
understand
haunted house wants to kiss his friends, but doesn't want anyone to know.
frat boy in a haunted house is overly misogynistic to cover up for his own queer ideas.
Or just insecurities in general.
Mm-hmm.
They were
Poor
trying
frat boy
really
in
hard.
haunted house.
Poor frat boy in haunted house. They're really just going through it. They need a hug and
Yeah.
their dad, to tell them that they love them. And give them a good fashioned fist bump of affection, I guess. I don't know. They're having a time.
When we were watching it together, the first one,
Yeah.
I might not have been. I wasn't really paying attention the second time we watched it, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I invented this in my brain, but I can't remember the names, but the one guy who's been recording the whole time, who's like the worst of the misogynists, who's always like
Yes.
watching the girl.
Yeah.
I, for some reason, remember there being hints that he had something going on with her and that it was like a secret.
Oh.
I don't know if I just made that up in my brain to like give more drama to this thing,
Maybe.
because I just was like, maybe they used to be like, I don't know. I invented in my head that they used to be together, or they're secretly together, which is why he's very weird and why he's so like dramatic about connecting with other women and why he's really weird about being around her. It's kind of like a Jesse's girl situation. But it
Yeah.
also, to me, I was like, there's got to be something there. Like, that's the degree to which he was being like that seemed like. But I also could just be.
He could
maybe I should be
also.
on the writer team, because I
Yeah.
give them better excuses than
He
what they
could
had.
also just have had feelings that were never
Yeah.
reciprocated. And he's like, I don't know how to just be friends.
Yeah,
So
he had a
I
Jesse's
gotta.
girl situation.
Yeah, exactly. It was like so.
It was
Mm,
gross.
yeah. But the film was funny. Like I was not media analysis seeing it either. I was
No.
just like, this is a ridiculous fun time. And if I media analysis it too hard, I'm gonna genuinely hate it. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
stop doing that. Because I remember at one point I was like,
Gonna
the
switch on
haunted
Enjoy
stuff just need
Brain.
to kill these guys because they're really irritating. I just
Yeah.
really need them to be done here. Clearly, they are walking into this situation ready to die because that's everything
Yes.
that they're doing is leading up to this. They're just like, I'm going to be the entire worst, so that like by the end you're just like, oh, thank God, the cult
Another deep
ghost
house kind of
finally
thing.
just made them stop. It must
Who
be
are
like
they?
I think it's a trope. It has to be a trope at this point because that is a thing. It's like Captain Gaslight
Yeah.
plus his friends who like are really weird
Yeah.
and creepy.
It
Hang out
is.
with one girl
Mhm,
and be
mhm.
horrible to her the entire time. Or Captain Gaslight is love interest. Also, they go underwater now. And they're just doing that for some reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before we move into your part, just the last highlight of the film is the terribly mediocre piano playing. Both of
Oh my
us
God.
messaged each other because I was like, this ghost is just doing like practicing his scales. Like you were
Yeah,
like,
he's
this is the
on-
most mediocre piano player as I was typing that out because
Yeah.
it's like bam, 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 bam.
He was literally just practicing his scales.
It's like the like music could be really creepy, and it literally was the most basic of piano playing. Like they were literally like, okay, we got a crew. Who of us can play? It's like I could do chopsticks, so I could do like a quick tune, right quick. Yeah, and and the second one they tried to like, I don't know what they're trying to do because they were like the piano playing is linked to a kid who is going to come into this house in the future because the
I
house
remember that.
told him to do that, and he
Yeah.
was just playing on his little like
How the house
electric keyboard, even though it sounds like the
talking to people from the
No,
far
it
away.
sends them letters and stuff and is like, come to this house. It's so funny. In the third one they didn't play up the music happened, but they weren't trying to like, I was like, stop trying to explain this song. It's so bad. Like this ghost just trying its best. The one cult member has been practicing.
Practicing those scales. He's doing a good job.
It's like, oh no.
Did he get better over time? Because
No,
that's what
it's literally the
practicing
same song.
does.
It's literally the
Okay.
same song.
It just doesn't get any better.
Yeah. All right.
Well, it was a
Well,
weird
that's not
flex,
fun
but they
thing.
did it. They did it.
They were doing their best.
Yeah. Also, it was a fun movie. I'm not saying like don't go see it. It was like
Yeah.
it was like entertaining. I'm sure we'll watch the next one. It better have better acting though, because I won't be able to finish it. If it
I
doesn't.
have to complete it now.
Yeah.
I have to know it.
Well,
Why?
because yeah, you put in the work,
exists.
so you
I
have
want
to
to know
like
what happens after
round
we've
it
been
out.
resurrected.
Yeah.
Because they keep surprising me.
Yeah.
And it is free on Tubi, so go check it out.
The new one or the one we watched? The one we watched.
Yeah. The other two, the second one is also free on Tubi, and the third one was free on Vudu with
Got you.
commercials.
Yeah.
So that's
Gotta
just
get
a
the
little thing for
commercials.
you.
Yeah. It was fun.